Alright, here we go. I'm going to go over how you can install a aftermarket steering wheel in a first-gen Mazda RX7 using NRG hub adapter, NRG quick release, and for this one I'm going to be using a Nardi Torino steering wheel. So first let's go over the steering wheel here. This is a Nardi Torino. I can get some measurements here real quick. So this one I got used from a buddy. It's about 13 3/4 outside dimension. I can throw up the millimeter dimension here since that's what most people go for. It's about 3 1/4 inch dish to it from flat to the end of the wheel. This one, my buddy's a taller dude, and so he needed the extra knee room behind it. This one might be a little close for me, but I'm going to make it work here because I love the wheel and I got a good price on it. So I'm going to start with this wheel, and I got this horn button for it so that the horn remains functional, and that will actually remain functional through this entire setup. The next thing I have here that is what actually bolts onto the steering shaft of the first gen RX7 is made by NRG. All it is a hub adapter, so it basically has a splined section in the center that goes over your splined steering wheel column, the actual shaft itself. Engages on that, and you tighten down your steering wheel nut on this with some Loctite, and then you take your steering wheel and you would bolt it on the bolt pattern here to the hub adapter. The thing that I wanted to be able to do was to be able to remove the steering wheel when I needed to. So what I ended up getting over here is a quick release. This is actually the NRG 2.5 quick release, and so the wheel is going to bolt onto this, and this part engages here on some cogs. There's actually some balls in here, and what it does is when it engages on this, it releases. So I can probably try to do this here since I have both hands not on camera. So lining up the top with the top, as long as it engages. Oh, there it did. So that will engage here, and then when I pull back on this, it'll release. This will stay on the hub. So this part is going to be bolted here. This part is going to be bolted onto the actual steering wheel itself, and the steering wheel will then be removable from the entire steering column, which I can take with me. So I'm going to throw up the part number here for this NRG hub and this NRG quick release. This video is not sponsored by NRG. I just happened to pick these up. Actually, I got this full kit from my buddy Sean in New Jersey. He was switching to a different style, asked me if I wanted it. I said of course, and luckily enough he keeps the box and all the original documentation with everything he does, so I appreciate that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at installing this steering wheel hub adapter into the car itself here. I'm trying to show you guys kind of how the wiring works, because you have your horn wiring in here, and you also want to make sure that your blinker release works correctly too. So what I'm going to do is take this over to the car here quick, and we're going to try to put this in. So I don't know whether or not I kept the nut from the steering wheel that I had in this car that I ended up selling to a local guy who said, or actually wasn't even local, he was I don't remember where he was from, but he said that he needed one for his car, so I ended up selling him the one out of mine, and it looks like I do not have the nut with me. So what I'm going to do is go get a lock nut that I'm going to install in here once I get this into the steering column itself. So this little roller here is used for your turn signals to be able to engage and disengage the turn signals. So when this is locked, this will rotate over, catch that, and disengage. So this would be simulating a right turn. As this rotates, it unsets the blinking. And so you want to make sure that engages here on the back side of this with these two holes. And then this little guy over here is actually an electrical contact for the horn. So that, so long as it's making contact with this gold surface here, will provide a complete circuit for the horn when you want to activate it in the car. All you do is press it, and it acts like a switch and closes. So this will go on here, spline in here correctly. So what I want to do too is make sure that my wheels are straight which I believe they're actually slightly cocked to one side right now. They're slightly turned to my left. So I'm going to install this, if I can, yep, one notch to the left. So that I can see the letters are actually angled slightly to the left here, so that's the orientation I want to install this in. And I want to make sure that these holes line up in the back. And one thing I'm going to do real quick is clean up that electrical contact so that my horn works once I get this all put together. Alright, so now I've gone in, I found my hub and my lock nut. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of this thread locker red, just Loctite. I'm going to put that on the steering shaft itself, on the threads, so that way thing doesn't come off on me when I'm driving down the road, because that would suck. And if you haven't seen the video where the guy has that happen, or it's just a joke, he's driving down the road with like a vice grips for a steering wheel, not a good idea. At least not in my opinion. So, a little bit of thread locker red on there. I'm going to orient this, make sure again that these two holes line up on the back with these pegs. I know my wheel is about one cog to the left right now. Alright, I could feel that engaged the steering, or the blinker disengagement. So I'm going to put that on. Got my lock nut here. Thread that on there just a little bit. Now, I looked up in the... Oh, that's a 19. I looked up in the manual here, the estimated amount that you are supposed to tighten this down by foot-pounds is listed here. Chapter 11 of the stock service manual. Steering wheel nut is listed as 1.3 to 325, oh sorry, 3.0 to 4.0 meter kilograms, or 22 to 29 foot-pounds. So what I'm going to do is just hand tighten it here, the 3/8 inch ratchet first. Try to get in here. Okay, there we go, I can feel her going there. So what I'm going to do is switch over to a torque wrench down here, listed at 22 to 29. It's a variance of 7, so if I go right in the middle I can go to 25. There's 25, 19 mil socket. There we go, that's 25 foot-pounds. So I know that nut's not coming loose. Okay. Alright. Now that we have that in there, the next step is to take this little guy, which is the male part of the quick release, and put that in the car. So I need to make the connection between this spade here and the female spade that's in the actual adapter itself here. So what I'm going to do is take this little zip tie off that buddy Sean put in there so that it wouldn't get lost, which is awesome. Pull that out of here. Set that in there, so I don't need it anymore. Sweet. And I'm going to use, out of the bag of hardware, the connecting screws for that. So, I want to make sure in here that I'm using the proper screws. So these ones that are countersunk, or have the countersink, I should say, are the ones that are going for the wheel. These ones should be the ones that go into and through this adapter and into the hub itself. So I want to make sure real quick that this will pass while it is engaged. Oops, gotta disengage it here. So here, push the button, lock it, set this in here at the right orientation, which is this. Awesome. And then I do have the bolt clearance here to use these actual look like 8mm bolts. So I'm going to release the male end again, take these out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. Grab an 8mm. I just have a stubby up here right now, it looked like. Start with this. I'll get these started on the actual hub itself. There we go. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is angle it just a slight bit to my left here, if possible. And that is due to the wheels being turned that way. One of the things I'm going to do is get this car aligned, and then that way I know that once the alignment is done, I'll have my wheels straight. Everything should be pretty well aligned here between the steering wheel and the actual wheels themselves. I put that new front subframe in here that I completely refurbished years ago now, 2 years ago, something like that. And when I did that, I never actually tightened everything down and had it all aligned perfectly, so that's one of the things I definitely have on the to-do list for this year before I start actually ripping this car around. Awesome, so everything's finger tightened here. There we go. One thing I want to make sure too is if I turn the key on, the horn's not blaring. Nope. Okay. Now we're on to kind of the last stage here. So what I need to get done is I need to bolt the steering wheel itself to the actual quick release here. And so what I'm going to do is grab this. So I know that the top of this steering wheel hub adapter is where it says NRG here, Innovations. And so I want that to be the top of my wheel. So I'm going to set that with the bolt pattern up here. Try to line it up. Usually on these things there are 2 bolt patterns. So this one's going to offset me slightly just to the right of center, but that's okay because I don't really care a whole lot. It's going to fit, and it's going to look great, and it's going to work better than having no steering wheel like I currently have. So basically just take these 6 screws, screw them in here. Awesome. Last thing I have to do is basically plug this horn button in. So, female end of the hub into the male end of the horn itself. Set this down in here. Awesome. So here we are. Steering wheel is all installed, nice and secure like. Don't have any complaints here. Horn works really well, so I like that. And then I can just take this. Oh, gotta push the button. Pull it off, and I'm ready to rip. So there you go, nice easy install here. Couple of snags, but overall extremely happy with it. I'm so short that I might have to take out a spacer in there because that's just one of those problems a short guy has, where I'm not going to be able to touch the pedals if I leave the spacer in there. I believe that I can take out this extra adapter that I have to make it about a ½ inch closer, something like that, and that might save me a little bit of space. But other than that, pretty quick, dirty, easy install for now. I may end up making a couple changes to it later here, like might put a new horn in, make it a little bit louder, more of a presence for a first gen, and then might end up trying to figure out, this horn button doesn't want to sit flush like I want it to. It keeps wanting to push out, and I think it's because the springs aren't hooking in the right spot. So I might end up like making a relief cut in there for this button to stay in where I actually want it to. But other than that, pretty stoked with how it turned out. Awesome.